All right, everyone, get ready, because today we are diving deep into a story that's making headlines around the world.
Oh, yeah.
The indictment of Gautam Adani.
Definitely.
You sent us a news article outlining everything.
Yeah.
And wow, this case, it just has everything you could imagine.
I know.
Bribery, renewable energy, international finance.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
I think there's going to be some serious political fallout
Oh, for sure.
from all this.
Absolutely.
It's a lot to unpack, so our goal today is to make sense of it all.
Right.
We're going to break down the charges.
Okay.
We'll explore who the major players are.
Yeah.
And try to figure out what this could mean going forward,
Totally.
especially for those of us who want to,
Mm-hmm.
stay ahead of the curve.
Absolutely. Stay informed.
So let's jump right in.
Yeah, let's do it.
At the heart of this whole thing is this alleged scheme
Right?
to win these huge solar energy contracts in India.
Yes.
And these contracts, we're talking big money here.
Yeah, we're talking huge money.
Projected profits over $2 billion.
Over 2 decades, yeah.
Over 2 decades.
Mm-hmm.
And all of it
It's massive.
hinges on these accusations
Yeah.
that Adani and his associates
Right.
bribed Indian government officials to
Yeah.
secure these lucrative deals.
That's exactly what they're alleging.
To really grasp the scale of this,
Right.
we have to understand the context, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
We're not talking about small-time projects here.
Right.
These were massive initiatives that
Mhm.
were designed to,
Really boost India's solar power capacity.
to significantly boost India's solar power capacity.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's where the
Yeah.
Solar Energy Corporation of India comes in, right?
Yes.
SECI.
That's right.
I think I'm saying that right.
You are, yeah.
They were responsible for awarding those solar contracts,
Right.
from what I read in the article.
So SECI,
Yeah.
it's a government-owned entity.
Okay.
Their whole job is promoting solar energy development in India.
Okay.
And back in 2019,
Mm-hmm.
they issued this massive tender for solar power projects.
Okay.
So you could think of it like a really high-stakes auction
Yeah.
where companies are competing
Mm-hmm.
for the rights to build and operate these solar farms.
Gotcha. Okay.
The big deal.
So Adani Green Energy,
Yes.
which is part of the Adani Group,
Mhm.
swooped in and snagged a big chunk of that tender.
That's right.
If I'm remembering correctly, they even touted it as the world's largest solar award.
Yeah, they did.
I mean,
Huge PR win for them at the time.
Right. Talk about a PR win.
Yeah.
But this is where things get a little complicated.
This is where the story takes a turn.
Yeah.
Because after winning the bid,
Okay.
SECI ran into trouble finalizing power purchase agreements with those state-run power distribution companies,
yeah.
the discoms.
Right.
And the energy prices linked to Adani's project
Mm-hmm.
were just considered too expensive.
Yeah, they were too high.
Way too high.
Okay, so the discoms,
Yeah.
they were hesitant to buy this
They were very hesitant.
pricey solar power,
Yes,
which makes sense.
of course.
I can see how that would throw a wrench in the whole thing.
Absolutely, it did.
Yeah.
And according to U.S. prosecutors,
Okay.
that's where the alleged bribery comes in.
Okay.
They're claiming that Adani executives started, greasing the palms of officials
Oh, wow.
in several Indian states,
Okay.
applying pressure on those
Yep.
discoms
Right.
to buy the solar power
Okay.
at those inflated prices.
So they're basically
Yeah.
twisting the arms of these
Basically.
power companies
Yeah.
to accept a deal that wasn't in their best financial interests.
That's what they're alleging.
It sounds like a blatant attempt to manipulate the system.
That's the picture the indictment paints.
Yeah.
It's a pretty clear picture.
For profit.
Yeah, for profit.
Okay, but here's where it gets even more interesting, right?
Yes.
Adani Green Energy,
Hmm.
they raised funds
They did.
from U.S. investors,
Yes.
and now the U.S. prosecutors, they're alleging
Mhm.
that Adani committed fraud under U.S. law
That's right.
by failing to disclose this alleged bribery scheme to their American investors.
They're saying they hid crucial information.
Okay, so that's the U.S. connection.
Yeah, that's it.
It makes sense, right?
Hmm.
If they were keeping their investors in the dark about potentially illegal activities,
Right.
That's
a big deal.
a serious breach of trust.
Definitely.
And could definitely trigger legal action here in the U.S.
Absolutely.
What about Gautam Adani himself, though?
Right.
How directly is he implicated in all of this? Is he just a figurehead, or is he accused of being actively involved?
They actually named Gautam Adani in the indictment.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
They're alleging that he was personally involved.
Okay.
And they point to a specific meeting he allegedly had with a high-ranking official in the state of Andhra Pradesh back in 2021.
So we're talking about a face-to-face meeting where Adani allegedly proposed a bribe
That's what they're saying.
to this official.
Yes.
What was the alleged offer?
Well, the indictment claims that Adani offered this official a staggering sum of money, over $200 million, to push through a power purchase agreement.
Oh, my gosh.
With the state's discoms.
It's like something out of a Hollywood movie.
I know, right?
So we're looking at allegations of bribery, potential fraud, and now the head honcho himself allegedly getting involved.
Yeah.
Can we just break down the specific charges that Adani and his associates are facing?
Absolutely.
Like, what are the legal eagles throwing at them?
There are three main charges in the indictment. The first one is a violation of the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, or FCPA.
FCPA.
Essentially, this U.S. law prohibits American companies and individuals from bribing foreign officials to gain a business advantage.
I see.
Think of it as a way to prevent American companies from getting tangled up in corrupt practices abroad.
Okay, so even though this happened in India, they're being charged under U.S. law.
That's right.
Because of Adani's financial ties to American investors.
Precisely.
Gotcha.
So that's the first charge.
Gotcha. What's the next one?
The second charge is securities and wire fraud.
Okay.
And these charges relate to how Adani raised money in the U.S.
Okay.
The prosecutors allege that they made false statements or they omitted important information about the alleged bribery scheme in their financial filings and in their communications with investors. It's all about transparency.
Yes.
Investors need to be able to make informed decisions.
Absolutely.
And in this case, the U.S. prosecutors are arguing that Adani and his associates withheld critical information. They basically misled their American investors to secure funding. They were playing a bit of a risky game there.
Right, because the article mentioned that they secured over $3 billion in loans.
That's a lot of money.
From international financial institutions.
Yes.
Including some based in the U.S.
Right.
And it also mentioned that they allegedly kept investors in the dark about ongoing investigations into their business practices.
That's a problem.
That seems pretty bad.
It does.
Yeah.
It definitely reinforces those securities fraud charges.
Okay.
And the wire fraud charge stems from the fact that these alleged misrepresentations were transmitted electronically across state lines. Emails, phone calls, you name it.
It all adds up. And then they're also facing a charge of obstruction of justice.
That's right.
If I'm remembering this right, this involves former employees of CDPQ, a Canadian investment firm that was involved with Adani. What did they allegedly do?
The indictment alleges that these former CDPQ employees who were involved in the firm's investments in Adani's projects intentionally deleted emails and other electronic communications. They could have implicated Adani in the bribery scheme.
Oh, wow.
And they're also accused of agreeing to provide false information to U.S. investigators.
Wow. Talk about adding insult to injury.
I know, right?
Sounds like they're trying to cover up the whole thing.
It does.
It does.
But didn't CDPQ say that they're cooperating with the authorities?
They did.
And that those employees were fired back in 2023?
Yes, they did.
Okay.
CDPQ is trying to distance themselves from those individuals. Emphasizing their commitment to transparency. But this whole situation, it raises some serious questions about due diligence and corporate responsibility when investing in companies operating in regions with a history of corruption.
Right.
It makes you wonder if CDPQ did enough to vet Adani before pouring money into their projects.
Absolutely.
It's a big question mark.
Investors need to be so cautious. They do.
And really do their homework, especially when dealing with companies operating in countries known for, shady dealings for those companies themselves. This case is a reminder that ethical behavior isn't just some, nice to have.
That's not just a feel-good thing.
It's crucial for long-term success and sustainability.
Couldn't agree more.
Well said.
So for everyone listening, this is where things start to get really interesting. We've outlined the charges.
Yeah.
We've identified the major players.
Right.
But the big question is, what happens next?
What happens next?
What are the potential ramifications of this indictment?
Right.
And what could it mean for Adani and the renewable energy sector as a whole?
Yeah.
We're moving from the who and the what to the so what.
Right. Exactly.
And that's where things could really heat up.
Okay, buckle up, everybody.
Get ready.
We're just getting started.
This is going to be a wild ride.
Stay with us.
We'll be right back. What's really interesting about all of this is we're not just talking about, a wealthy businessman facing some legal trouble.
Yeah.
Gautam Adani, he's a major figure in India.
He is.
With connections that reach, the highest levels of government.
Oh, yeah.
This case
has
the potential to shake things up.
Yeah.
I mean, really shake things up.
Okay.
In India's business and political landscape.
Yeah, you're right.
It's a big deal.
Adani's been called a close ally of Prime Minister Modi.
That's right.
And the Adani Group, they have holdings.
They do.
In ports, airports, energy, mining.
It's massive.
The ripple effects of this indictment could be huge.
It could be felt throughout the Indian economy.
Yeah. It's
like throwing a stone into a still pond,
Oh, okay.
Those ripples just keep expanding outward.
I like that. That's a good analogy.
And it really highlights the bigger picture here.
Okay.
The fact that these charges are coming from U.S. authorities, it adds another layer of complexity.
It does.
It raises all sorts of questions about the reach of American law enforcement and its impact on Indian sovereignty.
Okay.
We could be seeing a clash of legal and geopolitical titans.
That's a good point.
That's a big deal.
We're going to have some geopolitical tensions.
Oh, yeah.
Simmering beneath the surface here.
For sure.
But let's get back to those specific charges for a second.
Okay.
You mentioned the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act.
It did.
Earlier.
Yes.
I've heard about it before, but I'll admit I'm still not entirely sure what it means.
Okay.
Can you just break it down for me and our listeners?
Of course, the FCPA basically says that American companies and individuals can't bribe foreign officials to secure business deals.
Gotcha.
Think of it as a safeguard against American companies getting involved in unethical stuff overseas.
Okay, so it's not just about being ethical. It's about protecting American interests on a global scale.
That's a big part of it.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But Adani's an Indian citizen running an Indian company.
Yeah.
How does the FCPA apply to him?
Well, the key here is that Adani Green Energy, the company in the middle of all of this, they raised a ton of money.
Yeah, they did.
From investors here in the U.S.
Right.
And that connection to the American financial system brings them under the FCPA's jurisdiction. It's like American law has a really long reach.
Yeah.
It extends across borders to regulate the behavior of companies that have used U.S. capital markets.
Gotcha. So even though this all happened in India, the fact that they used funds from American investors brings them under U.S. law.
Exactly.
That's a fascinating aspect of this.
It is.
How international finance is all tied up with legal jurisdictions.
It's all connected.
But I'm still a little fuzzy. On those securities and wire fraud charges, what did they actually do there?
So picture this. When a company wants to raise money, they have to provide investors with a lot of information about their business, their finances, any potential risks.
Right.
This information is all laid out
Yeah.
in documents like prospectuses and filings
Right.
with regulatory bodies.
Okay, so it's all about making sure investors
Right.
know what they're getting into.
Exactly. Transparency is key.
Yeah, for sure.
Investors need to make informed decisions.
Yes.
And in this case,
Yeah.
the U.S. prosecutors are saying that Adani and his people
Mm-hmm.
left out some pretty important details
Okay.
about those bribery allegations
Right.
when they were raising money
Yeah.
from American investors.
Okay.
So they're accused of basically misleading investors
Oh, wow.
to secure funding.
So they're not just in trouble for the bribery.
Exactly.
They're also in trouble for hiding it
Yes.
from investors.
It's a double whammy.
And then there's that obstruction of justice charge.
Right.
This involves those former employees of CDPQ.
Yes.
Can you tell us more about that?
Sure. The indictment says that these former employees who were involved with CDPQ's investments
Right.
in Adani's projects,
Okay.
they intentionally deleted emails
Okay.
and other electronic communications
Right.
that could have linked Adani
Yeah.
to this bribery scheme.
they're trying to hide the evidence.
It looks that way.
Yeah.
Like they're trying to erase the footprints at a crime scene.
Right, but CDPQ said they're cooperating, right?
They did say that.
And that they fired those employees back in 2023.
Yes, they did.
Okay.
They're trying to distance themselves from those individuals.
Right.
Show that they're committed to transparency.
Yeah.
But it still raises some serious concerns.
Yeah.
About due diligence and corporate responsibility.
Right.
When investing in companies.
Okay.
In countries with a history of corruption.
It makes you wonder if they did enough.
It really does.
Before investing.
Yeah, were there red flags they missed?
Did they vet Adani enough?
Those are important questions.
Yeah, investors need to be so careful.
They need to be extra vigilant.
Do their homework.
Thoroughly.
Especially when dealing with companies in regions where corruption is a problem.
Absolutely.
This case is a reminder for companies
that
ethical conduct isn't just good PR.
Right.
It's fundamental
to their success.
Completely agree.
Well said.
And for everyone listening, this is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
We've talked about the charges
and
the key players.
Yeah.
But the question is, what happens next?
What happens next?
What are the consequences of this indictment?
Right.
For Adani, his business, and the renewable energy sector.
Right.
It's time to explore the ramifications and see what the future might hold.
The legal battle is just getting started.
And the consequences for Adani could be huge.
We're not talking about a slap on the wrist here.
Yeah.
This could reshape Indian business.
Okay.
And have a ripple effect around the world.
This story could have a huge impact.
It could. So stay with us.
As we unpack all the possible scenarios.
Yeah, and analyze what this could mean for India.
For the renewable energy sector.
And investors.
Worldwide. So let's talk about what this indictment could actually mean for Adani's future.
Okay.
If he's found guilty.
Yeah.
He could be looking at some pretty big fines.
Okay.
Potentially hundreds of millions.
Wow.
If not billions of dollars.
That's a lot of money.
We're talking about a financial hit that could seriously hurt even a billionaire.
Yeah, that's a hefty sum.
It is.
But it's not just about the money, right?
No, you're right.
There's the damage to his reputation.
Absolutely.
And the reputation of his whole business empire.
This scandal could leave a lasting stain.
Yeah, a stain that's tough to get rid of.
It could make it harder for them to attract investors. Right.
And to secure new projects.
Because who wants to partner with a company that's embroiled in all of this?
It's a PR nightmare.
It is.
And it could erode trust
Yeah.
with their existing partners and customers.
It's like a domino effect.
Yeah. One scandal leads to another.
And what about beyond the financial penalties?
Right.
Could Adani be facing jail time?
It's definitely a possibility.
Wow.
Especially if he's convicted of obstruction of justice.
Okay.
Or any of the other serious charges.
Right.
The U.S. justice system doesn't mess around with this kind of stuff.
No.
They want to send a message.
What kind of message?
That no one is above the law.
Okay.
No matter how rich or powerful you are.
I mean, imagine that one of India's most prominent businessmen ending up in jail.
It'd be a huge deal.
And then there's the political fallout.
Oh, for sure.
Adani's close ties to the Indian government could become a problem.
They could.
Especially if this leads to more investigations or scrutiny of his business practices.
It could trigger a political earthquake.
It really could.
This could become a major headache for Prime Minister Modi.
Right, because he supported Adani.
He has.
As a symbol of India's economic progress.
Yeah, and the opposition. They're already using this scandal to attack Modi's government.
Of course.
Accusing them of cronyism and corruption.
And on the international stage, this indictment could hurt India's reputation.
It could.
As a place to do business.
Absolutely.
It's a reminder that companies need to be held accountable.
They do.
No matter where they operate.
It's a global economy.
Transparency and ethical behavior.
Yeah.
They're not just trendy buzzwords.
They're not.
They're essential for building trust.
Absolutely.
And fostering sustainable economic growth.
For sure. Investors are really paying attention to environmental, social, and governance factors.
Right. ESG.
Exactly.
ESG.
And this scandal could make India less attractive for foreign investment.
It's a wake-up call for companies to prioritize ethical conduct and transparency.
Absolutely.
So what happens next?
Well, the case will probably move to the arraignment stage.
Okay.
Where Adani and his associates will formally hear the charges against them and enter their pleas.
And if they plead not guilty?
Then we're in for a long legal battle.
Yeah.
It could take months, maybe even years for this to go through the courts.
So we'll be waiting a while.
Probably.
It's amazing how this case has captured everyone's attention.
It's like a real-life thriller.
It is, with high stakes, powerful players, and dramatic twists.
It's got it all.
It raises some big questions.
It does.
About corporate greed, the influence of money and politics, and the challenges of regulating global businesses.
Well, it's a complicated issue.
And it shows the importance of investigative journalism.
For sure.
Holding the powerful accountable.
Absolutely.
It was investigative reporters who first brought Adani's practices to light.
And that led to this indictment.
This case is a reminder that no one is above the law.
No one.
And it highlights the importance of transparency and accountability
for everyone
in ensuring a level playing field.
Absolutely.
And ethical business practices.
Couldn't agree more.
So, for our listeners,
yeah,
this deep dive into the Adani indictment is a reminder that we live in a complex world.
It is a complex world.
Where corporate actions have big consequences.
They do.
Stay informed.
My question is,
and then transparency.
From those in power.
This story is far from over.
It's just the beginning.
We'll keep following it.
We will.
And keep you updated.
Absolutely.
Until then, stay curious.
Stay informed.
Keep asking those tough questions.
We'll see you next time.